Hey gang, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of Intuitive Angling. And man, I really appreciate you guys making some time out of your day or evening or morning to check the video out. It's always much appreciated. And really a nice evening here in Southwest Missouri. Man, last week we had heat indexes of like 110 every day, so it's cooled off a little bit. Not quite so humid, sort of nice to be out here and not sweating. Anyway, guys, today we're going to be talking about September bass fishing. I'm going to give you guys some tips and advice on how to approach September, things fish do in it, some techniques that work pretty good. Just so we're going to have a wide-ranging conversation on September fishing. And over the next few days, I'll be giving you some of the worst lures and the best lures that you can fish in the month of September. But today we'll just talk a little bit about what the fish do there. So real quick, guys, I wanted to remind you, if you guys haven't had a chance, it is getting into that fall season. Please swing by and check out our fall Fish the Moment Lake Map breakdowns. You guys know these are the breakdowns I build for fishthemoment.com. Gives you 40 good GPS waypoints on all your favorite lakes. It's a good foundation to start from where you can duplicate them. And also, if any of the lakes you fish are not on the list, that we can do a personal breakdown with that. And also, guys, later today, I will have my second video up on my new channel, Advanced Bass Fishing with Randy Blockett, which is the master's course level of fishing. Only putting up one video a week, so I'll put the link in the description for that as well. So much appreciated. Okay, guys, September, man. I'm guessing, in my opinion, September it's either the number one or the number two most difficult month of the year to catch bass in, from what I've experienced over the past, since bass fishing since the mid-70s. The only exception to that is if you guys are fishing up north in the northern smallmouth fisheries. That's a completely different animal up there. When you're talking about northern smallmouth fisheries, you can't compare them to any other place in the country. It's just not the same. But for most of the country, September is a dang grind. It's just hard to catch fish in there, and it's especially hard to catch quality fish. And talk a little bit about the reasons, and I'll give you guys some tips and advice on that. A lot of the reason that September fishing is tough is you've got a lot of negatives working against the fish. You've got some depleting oxygen levels. You usually have falling water that by September and August, usually lake levels are falling a little bit. Temperatures are still hot. Air temperatures and water temperatures are still hot. But the main thing that makes it so tough, in my opinion, is you have a lot of different shad migration depths. In other words, you have shad using a lot of different depths of water. You got shad that are out in 50 foot of water. You got shad that are on the surface. You got over 50 foot of water. You got shad that are 5 foot of water. You got shad that are suspended 10 foot over 30 foot of water. And you got some shad in the very back of the coves. The shad are literally everywhere in the month of September. So if you figure that, and this is sort of my theory on bass fishing, that I think a lot of bass just follow these shad schools all the time, whether they're in deep or shallow water. You can tell it scatters the fish out. It really does. In the month of September, I think the bass are more scattered than about any other time of the year, and they probably school the less. You've got smaller schools of bass. Basically, just it's reduced to little wolf packs and a lot of loners out there. And it's just combination of all that together. It just makes it hard to catch fish. So anyway, what do? How can you go about catching them in September? One of the things that I have found in September fishing is, and this is obviously dependent upon the lake that you fish. Some lakes are a little bit different, but just the overall gist of what the fish do in there is September is the time that you need to start thinking about fishing shallower, even though everything is still warm and still hot. Now, this is something that sort of takes place towards the end of August, mid to end of August, but it really gets into full swing in September. And there's shallow fish to be caught all year long, but in September especially, it just seems like the deeper water fishing gets really inconsistent and really tough. A lot of the times, depending upon the lake that you're in, like if you're in a lake like Table Rock Lake or Bull Shoals there in my part of the country, there's still some fish deep, but they're suspended. They're in smaller schools. Sometimes they're really finicky to catch, and the only way you can catch them is with live night crawlers or crawdads. And then depending upon the lake that you're going to have a bigger population of shallow fish than you would like on a lake like Table Rock. But the main thing is, if you want to be consistent, if there's one piece of advice that I can give you to continue having good odds of catching numbers and quality fish, it's to focus more than anything on topwater fishing. I think personally that the topwater fishing in September is where it all begins and starts. September, October, and November are probably three of my favorite months to fish topwater lures. But I really like the month of September because not many people do it. There's very few people that, commit to topwater fishing in September simply because it's not like a deal where you're going to get a ton of bites. It's like you're going to get some bites doing it, and those fish are going to be quality fish, but it's very random, it's very inconsistent, and you have to cover a tremendous amount of water. But I sort of like that. I sort of like that deal where if I can get onto a technique that I know is producing quality fish, I'll throw it even if I don't get a bite for a couple hours if I have an odds of catching a good one. And that's my favorite way. And the topwaters can be a lot of different stuff, and it just depends on the cover and the water clarity of the lake you have. Say, for example, if you're fishing a lake that has, a lot of riprap on it and a little bit, not dirty water, but just off-colored water in that 1.5 or 2 foot range, a little chugger, a little popper is really good in September. If you're fishing a real clear water lake, like we fish in this part of the country, a walking topwater or a wake bait can be really good. Frogs are really good. Buzz toads are good in a lot of different situations. And buzz baits. There's very few topwaters that will not work to some extent in the month of September. But it's a matter of just, putting it in your hand and throwing it. And usually what happens a lot of times, guys, is when you have a technique that's working a little bit, like topwater in September does, you may say, for example, you got a tournament with 100 people in it. There may be 1 or 2 guys that do good in the tournament on topwater, and everybody else may have tried it, but they don't stay with it. They stay with it during low light conditions and put it down. And the guys that stay with it, they may only get 4 or 5 bites all day long, but they may get a bite at 7 in the morning and one at 10 and one at 12:30 and one at 2:30, but they got a good bag of fish there. So anyway, guys, September, tough month. We'll get into some more techniques when we go into the baits a little bit more. There's a lot of other ways that you can catch them, but topwater fishing is probably my favorite way to catch bass in September. So we'll talk later. See you.